Hello, everyone. Thank you, the TechTO team, to inviting us to come here to give a little presentation. I know I only have 5 minutes, and I have too many slides, so I'm going to get on with it. So my name is Raymond Chik, co-founder of Untether AI, and I'm going to talk about how we started the company from -1 to 1. Most people talk about from 0 to 1, and I'd like to talk about a little bit prehistory of how we started it. So a bit of a quick marketing. Untether AI, fabulous semiconductor company, a 5-year-old company, headquartered in Toronto. We've got a bunch of people in the Silicon Valley and actually all over the place, Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa, a few places in the US. About 770 employees, roughly. We're currently at B round. So far, we've raised about $170 million. And chip is a very capital-intensive industry, as you know, so we need a lot of money, and we're still burning it. We're invested by Intel Capital and GM Ventures, and being able to get into Intel Capital's interest helped a lot to attract further investments. Our main sort of point is we're doing energy-centric at memory computing. Very, very energy efficient. We're trying to compete with Nvidia. So I'm sort of saying that we are probably around 5 to 10 times better in terms of energy efficiency. So before even getting to -1, our idea actually, the technology behind our idea is actually about 30 years ago. Started somewhere not too far away, University of Toronto. My co-founder, Dr. Martin Snellgrove, actually was a professor back then, and he has this idea of computational memory, several patents, a few PhD theses and whatnot. So that was then, but it didn't really garner a lot of attention. So it was banged away until when we sort of met together. Back then I was a student, he was a professor. 2008, actually, we met together and started a design services company. The 7 Samurai means that as long as you buy us dinner, I'll work for you. So the idea actually is to create a company doing design services for other chip companies. And along the way, we're going to be working in different areas of product. And if some of us, our employees, are interested in taking a certain idea into a product, then you're welcome to take the IP and go spin off. And in fact, Untether AI was basically a spin-off from Capic Integration. We started incubating the idea in around 2007. And basically, myself and Martin, which is my co-founder, and also my third founder, Derek Weeb, also at the time is in Capic Integration, did a spin-off. And Derek actually spent about a month or 2 down in Silicon Valley, meeting with different people, going to events like this. And eventually, he got Intel Capital's attention. So they gave us seed money, and we spun off Untether AI in 2018. So since then, we've been working on a prototype chip, and then our first generation product, and then now we're working on our second generation product. And that's where we are at, we are actually 1 to 10 now. Our first generation product is a chip, and also 1 chip card and 4 chip card that is trying to replace Nvidia. And that's where we are. And so I'd like to also share one of what I feel is the most important factor why we are successful so far is because of our founding team. I think I always tell people that you want to surround yourself with the right people. And there is a reason why the 3 of us started the company, because all 3 of us are kind of different shapes and sizes, meaning that we all have a different specific area of specialty. I'm a hardware guy, and Derek, my co-founder, is a software guy, and Martin Snellgrove is the genius behind it. So that constitute a pretty good and compelling story for early investors. So before concluding my talk, I can't resist of sort of pointing you to some of the observations that we've made if you look at pop culture. A lot of stuff that is predicted by pop culture actually became real. As you know, some of you may know if you're old enough, Dick Tracy is already using a smartwatch in the 1930s. So it took about, 80 years for a first smartwatch to come about. Captain Kirk using a flip phone. And it took 30 years or so before the first flip phone came about. And last but not least, Michael Knight. You can see he's using his smartphone, calling for a kid. It's a driverless AI car. And now you actually can do it. The Amazon Zoox, you probably can call it in your cell phone and your smartwatch. So, thank you.
So stay up for questions.
Oh, I guess question.
Well, I'm going to ask Alex here. I'm going to start with the first question. But first of all, I love that last slide. I hope we get a car that looks like Knight Rider's car kit. First question. You're doing something highly ambitious. And AI is obviously the next platform. You talked about knocking off Nvidia. But it seems like every big tech company is also trying to build an AI design chip. So how do you compete against such behemoths like Nvidia, Google, Apple?
Oh, it's tough. It's not easy. So I think we believe our unique architecture, which is completely new. It's 30 years old, but nobody was using it until my co-founder, Martin Snowgrove, felt that it's time because this particular architecture is very suitable for AI workloads. And the reason why Nvidia is becoming so popular these days is because of its GPU. AI workloads requires a lot of massively parallel processing. So CPU is not very efficient. And GPU became the de facto platform because it's available. Okay, people felt that, okay, this is a good hardware I can use on, and I can run my AI workloads on it very efficiently. But the GPU wasn't designed originally specifically for running AI. And now there's a whole slew of startups, including ourselves, trying to think of new ways to even further making chips that is much more energy efficient than GPU. And that's where we're at right now. So I think we have architectural advantage, but you have to be 5 times, 10 times better than the incumbent. And that's where we're at.
About 15 years ago, I was studying semiconductor manufacturing, and then I found out there are no jobs in Canada. So do you see that changing in the near future in the Canadian landscape, and how do you think your existence, Untethered's existence, might push it towards a different direction?
Well, manufacturing is a whole different ballgame. It takes really, really heavy capital. We do have semiconductor fabs around in Canada, small ones, not as advanced technology ones. And we, as most people know nowadays about fabs like TSMC, we use TSMC, so it's a Taiwanese company. And so I think in order for Canada to go into that game, it has to be, the government has to do something. So industry, the design can sort of help promote, form consortiums, lobbying, and that kind of stuff. But it is a very capital-intensive investment.
Thank you for your presentation. I noticed that you have a research background, and I looked up its master's and PhD. So I was curious, how did furthering your education help your current position, and who would you recommend to further their education? What would you give as an advice to people in terms of your postgraduate life?
Right, very good question. I did my PhD purely out of interest. So I liked the research environment, liked the university environment, And back then, I actually wanted to be a professor. But right about the time I was finishing my PhD, and I said, okay, I had enough in academia. I want to go out and try something new. Now, I would always advise people, if you are going to go through a PhD program, not necessarily a master program, but PhD is like 4 years or 5 years. That's a lot of your time. Don't do it because you want to advance your career. Do it because you have genuine interest in doing research, and because PhD, to me anyways, it didn't really help a huge amount in terms of career, because if you finish your PhD, your friends who didn't do your PhD is going to have 4 years of industry experience. They're actually ahead of you. So that would be sort of my one advice I would give.
But are they still 4 years ahead of you now?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, one last question.
Thank you for the great presentation. How long do you think it will take until we have these chips mainstream in all computers, my phone? And do you see exponential like speed growth as we've seen in GPUs and CPUs using these chips?
We're hoping, our first generation product that we're showing is going to be a sort of a market, create some market traction, getting people to know about us. We think our real potential is our second generation design, which is to be coming out later this year. And so we'll see whether that's going to give us the hockey stick, and we certainly hope so.
Before I thank you, how can people follow up with you if they have a question?
Oh, my email, rchik, R-C-H-I-K, at Untether.ai. You can also search on me on LinkedIn, Raymond Chik, I think, or search for Untether AI. You can search me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, actually.
Cool. Can I get a round of applause for Raymond? Thanks.
Thank you.